We have a wonderful service planned for you. We've got Sarah Angelides is back again to give us an opening prayer. Christine Shaw is our pilot today. And our speaker today is Craig Villarubia. And hang on one second. I got a little tech thing here that's happening. Actually, why don't I let, I didn't see Kiawa. Okay, well, let's go ahead. And Sarah, will you start us off with a prayer?
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, let's just place our hands on our hearts and close our eyes and just center into this moment. Just taking a deep breath of love and gratitude for this beautiful service today. Just so grateful to partner up with the divine, the higher Holy Spirit self, and come together to celebrate spirit. And we bless our beautiful speakers, Jennifer and Craig, and their healing words of wisdom and love and truth. And we choose to allow their messages to really elevate our consciousness and open our hearts. And we're so grateful for the high vibrational music today. And we allow this music to really uplift us and flow through every cell of our beings. We willingly give up and lay upon God's altar any stress that we brought with us today, any patterns of lack, fear, separation, or limitation. And we choose to place our faith and trust in God, knowing that we are always being guided to the highest and best. And we declare our worthiness of love, joy, harmony, freedom, beauty, peace, and abundance. And we are grateful to share the benefits with all because we are one, and we let it be, and so it is. Amen.
Amen, amen, amen. Thank you so much, Sarah. And I see Kiawa's here, but we don't have him on camera. So I don't know what's happening there. But perhaps there's some tech difficulty there. So, oh, all right. There you are.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
So, are you ready to give us a song?
I am.
Okay, great. I'd love, oh, wait a second. Sorry.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kiowa.
Kiowa, sorry.
I'm going to be singing a song to start us off called Peace and Love.
Yeah, and I'll just tell everybody that Kiowa is an artist who gives back to children, the planet, people, and animals, and has shared the stage with such folks as Tim Reynolds, Lenny Kravitz, the Marleys, Ani DeFranco, Daryl McDaniels, Fiona Apple, and Sheila E. He's a self-taught singer and songwriter. He's a multi-instrumentalist, and he produced his last 3 albums. His second and third albums, Soldier of Light and The Gift, can be found on SoundCloud under the name Terry Catlin. He is excited about reforming his band and hitting the road to tour again once we get through the pandemic. Yes. We're so glad you're here today with us.
Thank you so much for having me back. It's always so much fun, and it feels so good in my heart to be here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Here's a song called Peace and Love. Our love will fill the air one day. At least that's what they say. And why do I have to close my eyes to see clowns in my mirror laughed because of me? No matter what they say, no matter what they do, I'm leaving here today alone. As I walk down to a field by the river to watch my son go down, down, down. Across the water like an angel breathing freely. I saw this little boy, he had his hands behind his back. He said, just close your eyes, I got a surprise for you. He said, just close your eyes, I got a surprise for you, for you. He held out his hand to reveal the feather that he'd found long ago. He said, I have seen your light, and I can hold its warmth in my hands. I hold your blood and your pain, and I will burn inside of your soul. I didn't know what to say. Just who was this little boy anyway? He said, I have seen your light, and I can hold its warmth in my hands. 'Cause I hold your blood and your pain, and I will burn inside of your soul. Peace and love. Yeah, we can't hear anything. I'm not able to hear you. Gotta hit that unmute button.
Okay. Yep. I didn't, I have my own mute button, so I'll just mute myself if it's all right. Then I'm not double muted, and then I know I can see it just makes it easier if I just mute myself. So, well, you missed all the lovely things that I had to say about your music, but thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. And I'm excited to introduce my friend, Craig Villarubia. And I haven't seen you in a while, Craig. We haven't talked, so I'm excited to hear your voice, to hear how you are. And for those who might not know Craig, he is a student and a teacher of A Course in Miracles. As a result of deep study with the Course, Craig has experienced what he describes as an ephemeral shift. This awakening inspired him to share the teachings of the Course. He launched a website, miraclemindtraining.com, in 2010 and produced a documentary titled A Course in Miracles, Enlightenment or Bust, shortly after. Over the years, he's given talks around the world, organized retreats, and become a co-founder of the nonprofit Miracle Share. Today, he is based out of Hawaii and continues to share his teachings through local talks and gatherings. And we're so glad you're here, Craig. Yay!
Yay! Well, I'm thrilled to be here and sharing with you and your audience and seeing your face. It has been quite some time. It has been quite some time. So I guess it's my start. Okay. Well, you know, I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about today. And so, you know, I love these opportunities because they really give me an opportunity to share and hear for myself whatever message that is going to come through. So everything I say is really for me as much as it is for anybody else who is open to hear the message. And so this gives me an opportunity to reflect. So thank you so much, Jennifer. I'm so joyful to be with you here and everybody. And so the thought that kept coming into my mind when I was thinking about, okay, so what are we going to talk about? What is today about? And I started to think about the film, A Course in Miracles, Enlightenment or Bust, that I had made the documentary. And there was something that at that time was I was very curious about, and something that I felt like I wanted to kind of know more about and experience. And it's this idea of divine providence. And I remember interviewing David Hoffmeister for the film, and this topic came up. And one of the things that he had said to me was, he says, you know, Craig, divine providence isn't something that some people experience and some people don't. In other words, it wasn't something that just, you know, someone like a, you know, Mother Teresa or someone who's a saint experiences. Everybody experiences it or has the opportunity to experience divine providence. The question is, are we aware? And this idea of divine providence, I think, is what we all kind of long for. I mean, I think what we long for is really peace of mind, love, happiness, and joy. But that is all part of living a life that is in cooperation with God, with the universal power, with all that is. And so the question for me back then, and still continues today as we continue to exercise this spiritual muscle, is really, how can I bring awareness of my divine providence into everything that I do? And so the quest and the curiosity was really focused on, how do I bring this into my experience? Because I think for most of us, we don't always feel like we are in divine providence, or if we do, it's not consistent. And so the question that, you know, for me was, you know, how do I feel God's support in everything that I do? How do I experience God's guidance or spirit's guidance? How do I experience a life that's moving with ease as opposed to control? And so what came to me as I was thinking about this in preparation for the talk was really to start off with, what are some of the blocks that have that are obvious to me, that have blocked my awareness to this, or blocked all of our awareness to this divine principle of divine providence. And over, I'm reminded that when I'm trying to control my experience, when I'm trying to author what's happening in my life, The answer is clear, and the answer is in the Course, and it's in a lot of spiritual teachings, which is simply to undo this conditioning of having to believe or believing that I am somehow in charge. And I think what the Course does so wonderfully, especially in our 360 day lessons, is help us unwind from the need to try to control, or the belief that we are in control. And the one thing that came to my mind was lesson 50, which is, I am sustained by the love of God. And the very first line, it says, here is the answer to every problem that will confront you today, tomorrow, and throughout time. I am sustained by the love of God. Therefore, if I believe I'm in control of sustaining myself, if I think that I have the burden of creating my life and in control of what makes me happy, if I'm planning, if I'm filled with agenda, then if I have a heavy hand in the making of my life, then it doesn't allow the space for God's hand in my experience, or at least it doesn't allow me to be aware of God's hand in my experience, as God's hands in all of our experience. Divine providence really is omnipotent. In other words, there's nothing that happens that isn't divine providence, because there's nothing where God is absent. So if my mind is filled with agendas, if my mind is filled with arising thoughts each and every moment about how I can control things around me, control my investments, then I'm blinded by God's hand in my life. And so this is very evident as I look back at all the places in my life where I feel like I've suffered. It's become obvious to me that the perception of what I was perceiving comes from a place or need to believe that I am in fact in control of my life and everything. And one of the beautiful things about the Course, or one of my favorite quotes in the Course is, regardless of the teacher you choose, the lesson is the same, which is know thyself. And that comes to my mind because really the aim of the Course is peace of mind, and relinquishing the idea of a false self is what brings about that peace of mind. To know thyself is really to know that I am not the body. I am not in charge of the body. I'm not in charge of what the body does. You know, I had my brother here this weekend, and we were talking. He's a little bit older than me, and he works out. He goes to the gym, and he made a comment. As we're getting older, he made a comment along the lines of, I'm 58, but I don't feel 58. I look in the mirror and I'm like, I see that my body's 58, but inside I don't feel. And I'm like, yes, that's because you're not the body. You're not the body. There's a recognition. And I think we all have this feeling to some extent, however small it may seem, that there's something within that is definitionless, that has nothing to do with the body. We have a tendency to dismiss that feeling because it is abstract. And so my brother was talking about it, and I got really excited because to me, that is it's kind of like a portal of discovery that, yes, you're not the body. But nonetheless, believing we are the body and being so conditioned that we are this separate entity making our ways through the world, I have concluded that when I take that approach to everything that I do, that I am going to be caught up in a moment, or if not a collective moment of suffering, because things will never work out the way I want it to be, because I am not the one in charge. I am not the body. So therefore, the question is, well, then how do I escape this? The answer really is spirit. But in my own words and in my own experience, what I find is if I pull the teachings right out of the Course, the central teaching being forgiveness, which in the Course can be described as, watch without judgment, then I can look and apply that in my experience of life and see what is the result of watching my life without judgment. In other words, what is the result of watching my life without me having to step in to try to control or create another agenda or to avoid? And one of the things that right now that is happening in my life that I thought was poignant was I'm in the midst of opening a brand new store here in Hawaii. And, you know, I'll just rewind a little bit. Back in 2019, I felt really this inspiration to open up a store. And I don't want to make this a long story, but long story short is, since being in Hawaii, I've become a woodworker, an artist, and I've been creating art. I sell it online. And now it's gotten to the point that I'm going to open up a store. So there's a lot of excitement behind this. And all of this has happened, the art, the wood, all this was never a conscious decision. I never set out to do any of this. It really is a result of just being told what's the next thing, told through inspiration, told through what's showing up in my experience, told through what moves me each and every day. And so now we're at the point of opening up a store, and how exciting is that for me? And in 2019, I had it all planned out. It was just like, okay, so April of 2020, this is where I'm gonna, you know, because at the time I had a job that helped me save money to get my store ready. I'm gonna quit my job April of 2020. I'm gonna find a space by June, and I'm gonna open up my store for the summer of 2020. Now, you all know what happened in 2020. Yeah, so here I am, and all this is happening, and it's like, oh, wow, this is really all going against everything I thought and had planned out. And this is a perfect example of the lesson in Course in Miracles says, planning is a defense against God. Now, was it wrong that in my mind I had laid this plan out? Absolutely not. There's nothing wrong in planning as the planning comes from inspiration. The suffering is thinking that it has to lay out and happen that way. With the willingness to trust that everything will work out. Of course, the miracle says all things work for good. There is no exception. Then there's an acceptance of, oh, this is what's ultimately going to happen, whatever that may be, not knowing what that may be. April came around, everything shut down. And in the role or the job that I had at that time, basically everything shut down. I was the only one reporting to an office. There was really nothing for me to do because nothing was happening. Everything was shut down. But I was showing up to the office. And all of a sudden, I found myself at the time that I thought I would be opening up a store in an office with nothing to do. And what a gift, because now I had 8 hours a day for about 3 months to have more fun with what I was going to do with this brand new store. So rather than, I'm not here to say that I have anything that no one else has, or that I did anything special, or that I'm special, or anything like that. But I am here to say that the choice to relinquish any idea that I'm in control opens up the opportunity to see something different, to experience the miracle. And so for me, it meant every day coming to work and having an opportunity to be creative. And so through that, I came up with new product ideas. I came up with new pivoting the business in a new direction. And I was getting paid. How lucky, who gets paid to work on a new business idea, and paid handsomely? It was like the best thing that happened. And I don't mean to take away from, I certainly wouldn't want to take away from anybody's experiences in 2020, because I do understand that people's experiences may differ from mine, but mine was actually a very good one and continues to be a very good experience coming out of 2020. And so things started to pick up, and all of a sudden my job was no longer an opportunity to do what I was doing. 3 months I think had gone by, and it's kind of back to work. And I realized I didn't want to be at work. That wasn't the calling. Now, imagine this, you're in the middle of August now. Many people are unemployed, many people unemployed. I'm considering leaving my job. I'm feeling that was the next step, was to leave my job. Now, I had thoughts of, who are you to leave in a moment with so many people unemployed? Who are you to give up, a salary? You won't have a job when you quit, and you don't know when things are going to open up and happen. But, when we give up our belief in control, when we allow something bigger than us to lead us, these are the risks we take, or seeming risks that we take. And, when I think back at the movie, A Course in Miracles and Lion in a Bus, the documentary, really the central message is inspiration and following inspiration, despite the evidence that you see that says you shouldn't do it. When you are inspired, and when you are in spirit and following direction, what you ultimately find is that taking those steps, whatever they may be, as small or as big as they may be, landing on the other side, you will always be okay, and you will always be safe. And we exercise this muscle of following inspiration, or following the Holy Spirit's guidance, to learn that regardless of what happens, we will always be safe, and we will always be cared for. And so we're going back to the central theme of what I started to talk about, is divine providence comes as a result of taking these steps. As someone writes in the comments, going with the flow. Yes, going with the flow, regardless. And so the decision to quit was what I did. I gave my notice. Of course, everybody looked at me like I was crazy, and I left, and then I was without a job. And then it's like, okay, I got to find my store. That opportunity. I have all that was given to me as to what it was going to look like in terms of the product assortment, what we're going to do. Now I got to find a space. And here we are. And now I think it was probably October. I had to give notice, and take my final weeks there. And October comes around, I leave my job, and now I'm looking for a place to rent. Now, here's the good news, is when you're trying to look for a storefront when there's no one shopping, storefronts become very cheap. And so here I am in the middle of the pandemic, signing, or aligning to sign a lease, and I got a really good deal out of it. Better than I would have negotiated had it not been the situation. So yeah, so that was really exciting. But hopefully, my aim here is really to share a theme of what was happening, and toward in the spirit of divine providence, is this feeling of being supported through every part of the process, despite what's happening in the world. And so we signed a lease, and so now here I am with the lease. And, the money that I saved has to pay for, the product and the construction on the space, whatever renovations that had to be done. And so part of the lease I had negotiated was to have repaired the front door of the store, because it was kind of coming apart. And so the landlord agreed to pay for the door. We would take care of the interior repairs, which was about $10,000-ish. So come January, come February, come spring, the lease actually started in April, and construction is getting ready to start. They're going to fix the door. I'm lining up all my expenditures, all the product, and I'm starting to freak out, because I've underestimated how much everything cost. And I'm like, oh no, I'm going to have an interior that's going to look like crap, because I don't have the money to afford, and I'm not working. So there isn't like any income coming in. So I'm kind of freaking out, which is a complete sign, if anybody's ever freaking out, that is a sign that you need to stop and remember what's true about the situation. And, I think of lesson 152 of the power of decision is my own. Like, do I want to buy into this narrative that just popped into my mind? The power of decision is my own. The Course says no one can suffer loss unless it be his own decision. No one can suffer pain except his choice elects this state for him. No one can grieve. No one can fear. No one can have death. None of that happens unless one chooses to interpret oneself susceptible to those things. In other words, unless you have to think of yourself as a small person, as a body at the effect of what's happening in the world. The willingness to give up those thoughts and that thinking, and in exchange to be able to see divine guidance, requires me to forgive, which is to watch without judgment. Just watch without judgment. Okay, that's what it looks like on paper. And then I learned that in the process of fixing the door, the front door, the owner of the people who were contracted to do the construction found that there was termite damage. And the termite damage was really bad. So bad that they had to replace an entire wall, which included the interior wall, which I no longer had to rebuild. They also found that there was termite damage in the electrical boxes that they had, and it was affecting the interior electrical work. So the entire electrical work needed to be redone. They also found that part of the floor was collapsing, so they had to, everything that I thought I was going to have to pay for was now paid for by the landlord. So, you know, it was just a big smile in my mind, because here it is again, it's an example of how really it's God's hand at work at all times. I'm just showing up for the ride, which reminds me of going to Disneyland when I was a young kid. And I remember, you know, there's this ride where you drive on a road or a race track, if you will. And I remember as a child being so frustrated, because the reality is, regardless of where I put that steering wheel, it was always on the track. Like I can turn left and the car's going to go right if the track was going right. If I didn't touch the wheel, I was not driving the car. Nor am I driving the car in this experience. And the more I'm willing to acknowledge that and let that which is driving the car, I become more aware of what is driving the car. Hence, the experience of divine providence becomes an experience that I can witness to, I can become witness to. It's not luck, it's the willingness to see God's hand in my life at work that brings forth the evidence. But first, I have to be willing to put down the belief that I'm in charge, the belief in myself as a person. It doesn't mean that those thoughts don't come up, they still do. Hence the course, hence the reason why we gather here, hence the joy that I feel for being able to share and speak to you, to continue to build on the conviction that I'm not in charge and God is, and the willingness to let him step in wherever I need him. The reminder of what forgiveness is about. We often think about forgiveness in terms of, forgiveness in terms of what, maybe others have done to us, or what we perceive others have done to us, or problems. But really, forgiveness encompasses everything. The ability to watch everything without judgment results in an experience of peace of mind. That is the outcome of watching without judgment. And from that place, it is enjoyable. Life is wonderful. Peace is the dominant experience. And for me, that's what I live for. That there's nothing else to live for, because everything else leads to a roadblock. And so today, I hope to awaken, or continue to awaken within me that level of conviction. And I invite you all to join into that, so that we can experience that together. And I'll leave with one other analogy, or I'll close this up with one other analogy that came to mind. And there's this thing called, it's a photo that hides a picture. I think it's called a stereogram. I think you can look it up on Google, but you've all seen this, or I imagine all of you seen it. It's basically a picture that maybe look like scribbles, but if you kind of like distort your vision or blurry vision, all of a sudden you see, oh, there's a dolphin hidden in that picture, or there's a turtle or something in that picture. it's a hidden picture within a picture, but it requires you to distort the way you're seeing in order to see it. And so this journey we're on requires us to let go of the old way of seeing so that a new one can be brought into our experience. With that, I want to say I love you, I thank you, and I wish you all a wonderful Sunday. And thank you, Jennifer, for inviting me.
So happy to have you here. Thank you, Craig. Yes, our lives can be so inspiring. We can inspire ourselves. It's so wonderful. Yes, that's the thing. Walk in the talk, live in the love. That's a great example of it, Craig. So many rolled into one. A year of miracles there. Oh my goodness. Trust and faith in spirit, that we are not separate. We are held, we are led, we are guided, we are nurtured, we are loved, the beloved of the beloved. So let's take this inside here right now. So much is our perspective and our willingness. So let's practice some willingness right now. Craig gave us such beautiful examples of willingness to take a leap of faith, willingness to follow his heart, his guidance, and very importantly, willingness to receive. So much receptivity. He's allowing the universe to support him. He's following his guidance. And when we follow our guidance, the universe gets right up under us. Sometimes we worry, is this ego or is it guidance? How do we tell the difference? Guidance is always that still small voice, pretty much. It's a gentle guidance. Quit your job, open the store. It comes like that. It doesn't come like, you better quit your job. If you don't quit your job now, now's the best time because, and all these reasons, just gentle, leave the job, look for the store, follow the path, and being willing to walk into a space like Craig did and know this is the space for me, not knowing that all these renovations, all the support would be provided to him, but willing to receive, willing to be led and guided. See, when we're so judgmental and we're not just observing, we're judging, then there's fear and more fear. But when we can practice observing without opinion, without judgment, there's nothing to cause a feeling of fear, because fear doesn't come from the circumstances and the situations. It comes from our judgments and our opinions and our beliefs about the situations and the circumstances. So let's take Craig's inspiration here and ride it like a wave. And let's look within. Where are we being led and guided by spirit? The still small voice is gently nudging us to make a leap of faith. And we're judging that we don't have what it takes. We're judging that we're not important. We're judging that spirit will not provide for us. Where are we in judgment? And so there's fear. What is the still small voice leading us and guiding us to? What is that leap of faith we're being led to make? And what are the opinions and judgments we have that are triggering the fear, the sense of lack, the feeling of limitation? Where are we thinking that we're not guided, we're not led, we're not protected, and we have to do it for ourselves? Are we open to receive? One thing I know is if Spirit is guiding us in a particular direction, Spirit will provide everything we need. Our willingness is all that's required. But we do have to become that observer, that willing observer, and let go of the judgments so that we can do it without fear, so that we can hear clearly without fear. And one of the activators of that clarity is gratitude. So let's be grateful that we are being led and guided, even if we're not ready to make that leap of faith. As Margaret Shepherd said, sometimes a leap of faith is the only transportation that's available. Are we willing to take that ride? Many times, but not always, we can see what Spirit has in mind, why we're being led and guided. And sometimes Spirit does act like a bait and switch. We think we're moving someplace to be near our sister, when really we're moving to be someplace to be closer to our future spouse. We think we're taking that job because it brings more money and a promotion, but really we're taking that job because a light worker is needed in that space. Someone who can pray for everyone there. Sometimes we feel compelled to call somebody we haven't talked to in a long time. And we resist because we don't know that that person is thinking of killing themselves. If we knew that, we would jump on the phone right away. So we're learning to follow the nudges and the guidance, regardless of whether there's clarity or it makes sense. We're willing to have that level of trust because we're here only to be truly helpful. There's no other reason, just that. And to be truly, truly helpful, we do have to give up caring why we're going someplace, worrying about what to do or what to say. We have to give those things up and simply be willing. So today, where can you take a leap of faith? Or where would you like to be able to take a leap of faith if you had the courage? This is what we're being invited to contemplate. And we can do this while we have another song here from Kiowa. When you're ready.
There, hopefully I'm unmuted. This is a little song called Home. This is the home we all go to. Kind of in the vein of what Craig was talking about. Just let go and trust. Keep walking that dusty road of faith. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know if I'll ever know. Is there something I left behind? Or just something that I can never find? I don't know where to turn. I don't know if I'll ever learn. Is there something I should believe? Or just know that the truth will set you free? All my life I will try to walk the dusty roads less taken till I make it. I will find my own way with more patience. Call on graciousness till they lay me down into that sacred place we all call home. We all go home. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. I don't know about today, but I can't throw this love away. Is there something I should have said? Or just something that I'll always regret? All my life I will try to walk the dusty roads less taken till I make it. I will find my own way with more patience. Call on graciousness till they lay me down into that sacred place we all call home. We all go home. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know if I'll ever know.
Wow, music is medicine.
It's right up there with laughter, isn't it?
Oh, gosh, it is so good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Kiowa, yes. Oh, well, let's ride that inspiring wave that we've got from Craig and Kiowa and go right into our breakouts here. So if you're here for the first time, we do these breakouts. It's not very long, but it gives everybody a chance to share. And it's so wonderful for each person to get a chance to, if they would like to, share what is coming through for them, how Spirit is speaking to them, and any declarations, insights, ahas, or inspiration that you have. And so Christine is our pilot. She's going to put us into the breakout rooms. What I ask is that you make sure everybody who would like to speak gets a chance to share in your group, and that you're sharing based on what came through for you today, and hopefully some decisions that you're making, something that you're going to act on, do differently, follow Spirit's guidance. So here we go. And look for that breakout button on your screen there. There you go. And if you don't see the button on your screen, look on the bottom bar where it says breakout rooms. Look there. So giving everybody a moment. Looks like we've got quite a few people who, there we go. Got some unassigned there. All right. Okay, so Chris, I'm going to ask you to turn off your camera if you don't mind, if you're not going to your breakout room. And so we're going to share here on the Facebook Live, and I am going to invite Karen J to start us off.
Thank you, Jennifer. Hello, hello, Craig. It's very lovely to see you. Thank you so much for your beautiful, inspiring talk. I loved it, loved it, loved it. Don't follow the worldly reference, follow the spiritual reference. Follow what's given. And as you say, when you realize you're not driving this vehicle, you get to know who is driving the whole flow of life. So just wonderful. And again, you picking it up, Jennifer, and going with the theme. And I'd like to add just one little experience I had. It wasn't little for Kieran J, but just to show a different facet of how this can work, a different way. 9 years ago, on the 1st of June, I flew back from Santa Fe, having lived there for 9 months, with very, very little money, nowhere to live, not well enough to work, no idea how this was going to work at all, but trusting. And the day I landed, I got the guidance, go to Amsterdam for a week. On the 8th of June, go for a week. I had no idea what this was about, never thought of going to Amsterdam. I thought, if I go, that will take just about every last penny, but the guidance was very clear. So I went to Amsterdam. I couldn't afford to go to restaurants or museums or anything. I just walked about, bought my own food, just had the plane fare there and back and somewhere to stay. Came back from Amsterdam, and then I was homeless. And I had 3 or 4 months of very painful homelessness experiences. So it might look like Spirit was giving me the wrong information there. You know, why did you go to Amsterdam? That might have helped somewhat to the situation. But what was going on was my fears, my deep, deep fears of homelessness were being played out. When I was a child, I was horrified that people could be homeless. It really struck me as a very young child I think it's in my mind, I brought it with me. So these 3 or 4 months were perfect healing. I got to experience being homeless and trusting spirit, going day by day, following, knowing that the painful experiences were not the sum total of what was going on. And through that, I was led to somewhere to stay, and A Course in Miracles came. So the gift there was me facing the homelessness fears and changing my mind about them. So sometimes the guidance can seem to be leading us in the wrong direction. It can seem to be bringing us painful things, but nothing can befall us. If we're experiencing something painful, it's in our mind. And there's the golden opportunity to look at it with spirit and see that's not the truth. So yeah, I hope that's helpful, that whatever happens as we're following guidance will be perfect, whatever the personality might think about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, we can't be reminded often enough that pain is a wrong perspective. I'm so grateful for that clear statement from the Course. Just pain is a wrong perspective. Change your perspective. Just be willing to change your perspective. Be willing to change your perspective, Jennifer. That's all. Oh my goodness. Thank you for that, Kieran J. Rosalind, how about you?
Yes, I would love to share. And Craig, you were one of the first to put on, as part of 3 People, the big internet conferences that so many of us benefited from. And I just want to honor you for that startup and making such a big inroad in the spiritual world of connecting. So thank you for that. And yes, an incredible talk about listening to the guidance and trusting, and how that looks and sometimes looks incorrect. I wanted to say to Sarah before we forget, or before I forget, that your voice is so soothing. And something funny happened. When someone doesn't hear well, they often hear in rhymes. And I'm deaf in one ear. And I heard you use the word whack instead of lack. And then a second later, it came to me that it's wacky to feel like you're lacking. So that was just a funny little thing that I got there. And Kiowa, I love the word home for oneness and for God, because it's an equalizer. Whatever anybody's tradition is, they are trying to come home. They are trying to find peace. The language might look different, and we often make a great deal out of the differences. But a word like home just brings it all together. And you said we often don't know what to say in that song, but peace and love, and putting it together with Craig's talk, the guidance will show us how to go home. So I just loved all of that. For me, I had a really interesting experience yesterday. And while Craig was talking, and he was sharing the bounty of what happened in the store, how he didn't have to pay and it was going to be too much money, I kept thinking of the owner of the store, and it's a bounty for him as well. It just doesn't look that way right now. Probably on first appearance, it looks like he didn't do very well with spirit, but I am convinced. So back to my experience yesterday, I have been noticing that spirit has been breaking open the doors in so many directions. A TEDx talk, right? Have a website, a book, a children's book, a talk. And I have been noticing that each time I walk through the door and take that leap, some fear comes up, and it's a regular pattern. So I don't have to give it any paragraphs after noticing. But something happened yesterday. And in the past, if I have ever had a car problem, an accident kind of thing, it's been with the mirrors of my car hitting the garage. So I have, that's a terrible sound when you hit metal and, you don't know various damage. And I've probably done it 3 or 4 times in 15 or 20 years, one or the other. It is close, but you'd think I would be used to it. Yesterday, I was in a parking space. I was not moving. And somebody hit my car on the mirror. And my first reaction was to open my door and say, "You hit me," because I was like really surprised. And the wife and the husband, or the woman and the man, started yelling at me in unison, "It's your fault." And I was like, but really loud. And they said, "It's okay, it's just your mirror." Well, I happen to know how much a mirror costs because I've done this before. And so I got out and I looked at it and I was completely baffled. And they said, you're on the line in the front of your car. And it's like, I was on the line, but he was moving and I was in this. So here I am judging who's right, who's wrong, who did what to whom. Now I come home, and would you believe that was enough of an experience that I could have worked on or tried to interpret. What do? I hit the other mirror coming into my car, into the house. And so I said, well, this, you don't need to be brilliant to figure that there's a message here, but what is it? And what's going on? And I thought, I'm feeling very young inside, very shaken. And I thought, the one thing I can do that's different from the past is speak of it right away. Before, I used to be afraid, and it would take me a little time to tell my husband what happened. And I have been aware that he doesn't react like my father did, who would scream at my mother for anything, any wrongdoing. And that must have been quite scary as a child. And so even though it's not reality, I have this old thing of feeling young and somebody's going to yell at me and I made a mistake. So I said, well, the one thing I can do to undo this is to speak right away. This is not childhood. And let's see what unfolds. Let's see what unfolds. And like you, Kiran J, it was a childhood something that needed attending to. Maybe it's symbolic of a whole childhood. I don't need to understand like Jennifer often teaches, but I needed to be willing to let it go. This is here and now. It is a gift, even though it looked like it wasn't. And the judging of who hit who and who was wrong, and the people yelling, "It's your fault." And my husband said, "How could it be your fault? You weren't moving, they were moving." And it was just funny after a while. And the way I felt was it was a gift. It was such a gift. I can let go of whose fault it is, and people yelling, and that somehow return in this instant to the doors that have opened to grace and not go back to the fear. Because it almost felt like the mirrors were representing, do you really want to go through all those big doors? Maybe come back here where you know how it goes. People yell at you, somebody's wrong, somebody's right. I know that world because it's our conditioned place. And in about 2 minutes, I was back to peace, being an adult, not a 5-year-old. And even that was all right. Even the childhood of my father yelling at my mother and whatever, it was all divinely providence. even that was providence. And
Mhm.
providence has a definition. I looked it up, of being held. I wanted to hear what Webster would say. And so I'm very, very grateful for today. Thank you.
Ah, thank you for sharing with us that whole journey, Rosalind. My goodness. Whew. We've got David Fishman here, so I'd love to let David speak a little. Oh, let me unmute you. I can only ask you to unmute. You have to use
Okay,
your free will to choose it.
I guess I can be heard, right?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, Rosalind, that was a great story. And I want to thank you for the idea of home. Yeah, home is the great equalizer. You're right. Heaven, God, oneness. People have all kinds of ideas of that. Home. Everyone knows what home is. Yeah, we all want to come home. Yeah. We've been away a long time, right? And what can I say about Craig other than exactly as you said, Rosalind? He was the first one that started these internet ways of connecting with people way back. And thanks for inviting me to your very first one. I always remember that one. I met people like Dr. Bob on that for the very first time. Let's listen to Dr. Bob. You had him on at the same time. Craig has been just beautiful to everyone that he ever touches because he helps everybody literally find that inner peace. And his topic, watching without judgment, is peace, is exactly what this entire course is about. I don't know where it says it. Usually I do, but maybe you do, Jennifer, or someone. It says, you have no idea the peace that comes from living without judgment. I don't know where it says that, but that's exactly what happens when you're into the awareness without the judgment. We're just watching without the judgment. And yeah, the thing that came up for me when you were sharing that story is right from lesson 135, paragraph 18, which is my go-to paragraph. What can you not accept if you but knew that everything that seems to happen, even those broken mirrors, all events, past, present, and even to come, are gently planned for you by one whose only purpose is your good. I mean, how can you deny that, right? And I want to thank Craig for pointing out, and we just went through lesson 152 and I was talking about it, and it didn't occur to me until you read the first paragraph. It says, no one can suffer pain except his choice elects the state for him. No one can grieve. And I stopped on that one because my wife had just passed a few months ago, and I did go through 3 days of grief, kind of primal, screaming kind of grief. And then all of a sudden, I returned to the now, and I remembered our wedding vows, which Reverend John Mundy gave to us when we got married 40 years ago. We are one, and we're always one. That's what the oneness is. She didn't leave. Maybe her body left, but we are one. And I know that that is true, that we are perfectly cared for always. Thank you so much, Craig. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Yeah. Faith, would you like to share something?
I'm just going to share something very quickly. It's so wonderful to hear everyone's sharing. But there are many times in my life where something came up that seemed like, what am I going to do now? And every time I surrendered to that, whatever it was, an adventure started. Something happened, like it was, and I was now on an adventure, and it's an amazing thing. Now that adventure sometimes looked kind of crazy, but I would trust that adventure, and that's really, to me, that when we surrender, we don't know what's going to show up, but we can enjoy the ride, like Craig was saying, in that car that we're on. Let Spirit drive it, and amazing things can happen, and I wouldn't change any of it, none of it. So thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Kiowa, I don't think you can see because maybe you're on a phone, but you're sideways. So you need to adjust your phone there. Sarah, would you like to share something? There we go.
I just want to thank everybody for their beautiful shares, and Craig, your message today was exactly what I needed to hear. So I just want to say thank you for following your guidance and what you shared with us today. So thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Christine, I haven't seen an announcement since 10 minutes left, so I don't know how much time is left.
We're on the countdown on the last minute. I did announce every 5 minutes, just so you know. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Craig, final thoughts here? Can't hear you.
Just a huge thank you, and thank you for joining in. And I leave this conversation that much more convicted in the belief that I am supported, I am safe, I am cared for, regardless of what the external circumstances ever look like. So thank you for the invitation, and thank you for everybody sharing.
Yeah, that's the thing about joining together, being together. We find that we're so much alike and we can inspire each other tremendously. Yeah, it's beautiful. So how did folks do in the breakout? Was it good? All right. And I invite you to make any declarations. Always good to have that opportunity to make a declaration, something you're going to do, something you're going to change. Some aha or realization that you've had today, please share it with all of us in the chat. And so that invitation is open. So here's what's going to happen now. I'm going to make a few announcements, and then Kiowa is going to give us another song. Sarah's going to give us another prayer, and then we're out of here. So announcements. I would like to give Kieran J just a moment here. She's got a class that just started yesterday. And so you can get that download right away. You can join in on that class. And I was talking earlier with some folks who have been there, said it was just awesome. So Kieran J, would you like to share anything more about the class?
Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, it was beautiful. What a wonderful, wonderful group. And they were all there desiring to go deeper with the Course in Miracles. And that was palpable. That flowed through us. And very, very beautiful things happened. It's a 4-class series. And I think it would be okay if people wanted to join from the 2nd class on, no later than that. It would be too late to join in the 3rd and the 4th because, you know, it will be all over, really. But if somebody feels inspired to go deeper with the course, have an approach which is highly, highly experiential. They love the experiential aspects of yesterday. Then it would be good. They could watch the replay of yesterday. They could do the pre-reading for yesterday and the next session, which is the 19th, and we would welcome them in. So if this speaks to you, please get in touch. Who do they get in touch with, Jennifer? Because can they still go through the website? And
They can. And so we put a link in the chat here, and they can also go to jenniferhadley.com events and find it there. And people can also reach out to you on Facebook, right?
Yes.
And you have your own website.
And I have my own website, kieranj.com. So please get in touch if you want to jump in before it's too late. That would be beautiful. You'd be very welcome. But the doors will close from session 2. So
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much. And today is the last day to register for my Finding Freedom Spiritual Boot Camp, Finding Freedom from Fear with A Course in Miracles Principles. I know we've got folks here who've done it, and I invite you to consider, if you're really interested in doing the deep forgiveness work and really practicing the principles of A Course in Miracles and moving out of the head and into the heart with it, into a practical application, out of studying it into living it, really walking the talk. Don't put it off another day. Finding Freedom is starting, and there's so many things of support in the Finding Freedom Bootcamp. You get to be with me every week, plus there's pre-recorded classes and videos, plus there's a weekly small group meeting. And when we're in session each week with me, you can ask me any question you like about your personal life, about how to live it, apply it, how to heal whatever situation is going on. And there's a 400-page workbook, and there's so many different components to it. You can go at your own pace. It's a 90-day program. And there's no way to do it perfectly, so you just do it the way you do it, and we'll help you. And then you get one-on-one guided session, you get group sessions. I mean, there's just so much to it. So if anybody who's done it is here, would like to send encouragement, please do. And you can put something in the chat. And so that's, and then we have our parenting class is starting at the end of the month. A Parenting with Spirit. People have been asking me for a parenting class for years. Sarah Angelides is one of the teachers in that program. It's absolutely going to be so helpful to parents. We've got there's a wonderful program of classes and support group to really support the parents who have had such a tough time during this lockdown, a lot of them. And so we're coming out of that, and we are truly rising in spirit. So many families have been deeply challenged. So many families are in deep healing, and we're here to support all of it. And these services, like everything else at the Power of Love Ministry, we are doing everything we can to support people. And we have a full-time staff. So we're not just run by volunteers. We have a full-time staff of many people to do all the different pieces. And so your donations help pay their salaries so that we can do more and more free things like this Sundays with Spirit. We also have the text messages. We send text messages every day. You can sign up for them for as little as $1 one time, or you can set up a recurring donation. So I'm asking you to please consider setting up a recurring donation. If you don't want text messages, you can just go to jenniferhadley.com and do a donation there. It's we are a nonprofit organization, so your donations are critical to our success, to our ability to do the podcast and the free classes, the daily prayers and the daily inspiration, all the different things that we do. Your donations are absolutely the bedrock of our support. So big thanks to all the people who support and donate and share. All right, so those are my announcements. And we have, there you are. Kiowa, do you have any announcements? Actually, sorry, 1 second before I go to you, where's Craig? That's who I meant to look. I didn't see him. Well, we can come back to you, Craig. Oh, there you are. Do you have any announcements for us? Can you give us your website for your store and anything else you like?
Oh, sure. Happy to do so. Yeah, you can check out some of my stuff. Although here's my newest problem. Everything is sold out. What a problem to have. But yes, visit my site. It's at koawoodranch.com, K-O-A Wood, W-O-O-D, Ranch, RANCH.com. That is the site. And we'll soon have a store in a couple of months, and I'm excited about that. And if anybody hasn't seen the A Course in Miracles documentary, Enlightenment or Bust, check that out. A lot of favorite teachers are on there. Certainly a lot of messages of constructive messages in support of Course in Miracles can be found there. And that's at acimdocumentary.com. Thank you, everybody.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for everything you offer, Craig. Do you also do counseling?
If anybody wants to reach me, they can go ahead and email me at craig@craigvillarubia.com. And when space is available, yes, I'm always open to support Mighty Companions.
Great. Great. Thank you, Craig. All right. Now back to Kiowa. Kiowa, do you have any announcements? Where can we get your music? I think that's what most of us would like to know.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Do you have any announcements?
I do not have any announcements other than you guys, when you asked me to play this event, it just really warms my heart, and I feel so blessed to be a part of it and get to experience the wisdom and love that everyone has to share. You guys rock, and you really made my Sunday today. So thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you made ours. Where can we get your music?
I have both albums, The Gift and Soldier of Light, on SoundCloud under Terry Catlin. And they're both free. So if you like, there's all different kinds of music that I write. Some have tablas and sitars, and others might have a didgeridoo, and one might be just a piano song, and one might sound like a Hendrixy bluesy song. You never know what you're going to get, but it's just all over the spectrum there.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, did I just go out there?
No.
Okay, good. Okay. Got a
All
call.
right. Well, we'd love to hear one more song here before we close it out.
If this is if music is a prayer, then this one is mine. I hope you enjoy it. If I could, then I would take away your pain. If I could, then I would make it go away. If I could, then I would make you understand. If I could, then I would give you all I am. Put these broken pieces back together again. I wanna believe, I've gotta have faith. I wanna know that peace will conquer hate. I wanna feel like there is some hope, like I've made a difference in this crazy old land. Just an American man. If I could, then I would take you far away. If I could, then I would erase all the lines that we made. Imagine every single person living life in peace. 'Cause I wanna believe, I've gotta have faith. I wanna know that peace will conquer hate. And I wanna feel like there is some hope, like I made a difference in this crazy old land. Just an American man. Surrender to the darkness, you'll find the light.
Heartbroken spirit still finds the will to fight. Listen to the children of the sun. Hear them singing, we shall overcome. 'Cause I wanna believe, I've got to have faith. I wanna know that peace will conquer hate. I wanna feel like there is some hope, like I made a difference in this crazy whole world. I wanna believe, I've gotta have faith. I wanna know that peace will conquer hate. And I wanna feel like there is some hope, like I made a difference in this crazy old world. I'm just an American. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. What a blessing.
Thank you.
Ah, well, we have been filled up here. What a blessing. Thank you, Craig, for being here. Thank you, Kiowa. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks, everybody, for being here, showing up and joining today. Sarah, will you take us home with a prayer?
Yes. So let's just place our hands on our hearts and close our eyes and just take a breath of gratitude for this beautiful, powerful service today, the powerful music and just our time together, and remembering that we are always being guided by Holy Spirit to the highest and best for ourselves and everyone. Just so grateful to let go of any resistance or reluctance to listening to that quiet voice within, and placing our full trust and faith in Spirit. And we are so willing to share the benefits of this healing with each other and with all, because we are truly one. And so it is. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks, everyone. Mwah. Have a beautiful week.